G'day guys, it's Win here, and welcome to Star Wars Battlefront. I've been playing this game for a couple of weeks and have been loving it, and I've actually spent probably 75% of my time in Fighter Squadron, which is kind of the Battlefront version of space combat. Although you're not really in space, you are flying around in this spaceship, so the X-Wing, the A-Wing, the TIE Fighter, and the TIE Interceptor. So I thought I'd run through a couple of tips that I've found while playing this game mode. First important factor is your choice of ship. So if you're playing as the Imperials, you can either have the TIE Fighter or the TIE Interceptor. And if you're playing for the Rebels, you get the X-Wing or the A-Wing. Now I always take the TIE Interceptor for the Imperials and the A-Wing for the Rebels. The reason I choose the TIE Interceptor is it just seems to be a little bit quicker and sharper on the turns than the TIE Fighter. When I'm playing for the Rebels, I always take the A-Wing. You probably noticed in some of the gameplay that the A-Wing is really tough to hit. I get the feeling that it's got maybe a smaller hitbox than the other ships, and you'll find yourself living longer and doing more damage. Having said that, there's no real material difference between the ships that I've found, so if you find that one works better for you than any other, then go for it. Now, the second thing you'll notice straight away too, you can control your speed with the left stick forward and back. You might think it makes sense to have the speed just cranked up all the time, but what's not immediately obvious, your speed setting actually affects your gun strength as well. So the lower your speed, the more of your ship's power is diverted to the weapons, and so you'll do more damage. It also gives you tighter turning to try and avoid those weapon locks and missiles. Unless you're trying to get back into the action after respawning, I would pretty much always have my speed set to low. Each ship is also capable of evasive maneuvers. I find myself always using the up button, which basically does a backflip. These evasive maneuvers will break enemy locks and also mean that any homing missiles coming your way miss. The thing to bear in mind though is that these maneuvers have a cooldown. You can't just spam them, so you've got to try and use them carefully. Try to evade as much as you can just using your normal steering, and then only use the evasive maneuvers when you absolutely have to and there's no other way to get out of it. And on the flip side, if you're trying to take somebody down, kind of shoot at them a bit until they use their evasive maneuvers, and then fire your missiles. You don't want to waste your missile cooldown on someone who's going to just dodge out of the way. Throughout the mode, you'll have objectives pop up. You'll be tasked with either destroying the enemy transport ships or protecting your own. Now these are a great way to get extra points. If you're on the offensive, you get points for all the damage that you do to the transport ship. So go after it as soon as it pops, but be very careful. There's going to be a lot of players around that objective, including the enemy. And if you're in the defense, flying towards your transport ship to protect it is a great way to start nailing some kills. The enemy is going to be focused on taking down that ship and won't see you coming. You'll also notice that some ships have names above them while others don't. The ones that don't are just the AI, and while you'll get points for killing them, you won't get nearly as many, although they will be much easier to kill. You can usually take them down with just your blasters, so I wouldn't waste missiles on them. Now, just like in the infantry game mode, your blasters can overheat, but you don't get the option to manually cool them. If you overheat them too far, you'll have to wait for them to cool down. So the best bet is to fire your blasters in bursts. Keep going until they're just about to overheat and let them naturally cool off a bit. They'll cool off much faster if you don't allow them to overheat to maximum. Now, my last tip for maximum fun is to go for the hero pickup. Just like in the infantry mode, there are hero power-ups. They're down at ground level like the others, and what they do is they let you pilot one of the iconic ships from your faction. So for the Imperials, you'll jump at Jango Fett's Slave 1, and on the Rebel side, you get to zoom around in the Millennium Falcon. These ships are super powerful and super difficult for your opponents to kill you unless they gang up on you, and even then it's a struggle. So when you see these power up, go for them and enjoy. They're super maneuverable, some great extra abilities, and do a shit ton of damage. Just be mindful that you do become a super obvious target, so if the opposing team does decide to gang up on you, you may want to just be wary of that. Like I said, you still know pushover, but just be aware of it and don't panic. And that's it. The final tip is really just to have fun. This isn't what I would call a super competitive game mode or even really a super competitive game. It really nails the Star Wars fantasy. If you've got any other comments or tips on how you like to play Fighter Squadron or any of the other modes, let me know in the comments below. Cheers guys.